Horror remakes are one of the most constant things in the movie industry, and in fact, so many get announced that it's actually a bit hard to keep track of them all. With that in mind, then, I'm Josh from WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 horror films you didn't know were being remade. Number 10, Salem's Lot. Stephen King is, of course, no stranger to multiple adaptations of his work. From the 1990 It miniseries to the Bill Skarsgård two-parter, and even 3 versions of Carrie, the prolific writer's novels are always a ripe target for Hollywood. Salem's Lot, then, released in 1975, was King's second book, which dealt with vampires in a small town, and has already had 2 adaptations. The first was the 1979 2-part miniseries directed by a legendary horror filmmaker Tobe Hooper, and the second was in 2004 and starring Rob Lowe. And yeah, for what it's worth, that second version there existing is news to me too. Anyway, in 2019 it was also announced that a new version of the film would be released by New Line Cinema and produced by James Wan. But sadly, we've heard barely anything since. Despite finishing production this year, Salem's Lot's 2023 release date has been removed from Warner Bros. Pictures' schedule and replaced with Evil Dead Rise, which I am buzzing is now getting a theatrical release, by the way, but with no new date for the other movie being announced. And this isn't the first time this has happened, as the picture was at one point slated for 2022, but was then moved to the following year. As of now, there has been no update regarding Salem's Lot, but if the cancellation of Batgirl proved anything, it's that the future of these WB projects is always unclear until you can literally see them with your own 2 eyes. Number 9, The Haunted Mansion. The Haunted Mansion is one of the most popular attractions at Disneyland, and bolstered by the success of another theme park adaptation by the name of Pirates of the Caribbean, Disney tried to repeat the trick with this 2003 movie starring Eddie Murphy. Despite it being nowhere near as big of a hit though, the House of Mouse isn't one to back down, which is why there have been other attempts at reviving the property, with one known venture being during the 2010s, when none other than Guillermo del Toro was attached to direct, but sadly the heavens didn't align for that one, and the acclaimed director left the project. Come 2023 though, we'll finally be getting a new version of The Haunted Mansion, featuring a great ensemble cast consisting of Rosario Dawson, Lakeith Stanfield, Owen Wilson, Danny DeVito, Jared Leto, and Jamie Lee Curtis. There is a lot riding on this project, as the Haunted Mansion attraction has always been a fan favorite, but with a cast like that, surely you can't fail. Right? Number 8, The Wolfman. While it may be a distant memory now, the Dark Universe, R.I.P. my sweet prince, was Universal Studios' attempt at replicating the success of the MCU. They had multiple stars lined up for multiple movies, from Johnny Depp as the Invisible Man to Javier Bardem as Frankenstein's monster. But sadly, the reception to Tom Cruise's inaugural effort, that being The Mummy, led to the studio immediately hitting the brakes and killing the universe before it even properly began. A second take would be seen in 2020 though, with Lee Winnell's The Invisible Man remake, modernizing the original movie and acting as a standalone story. It became such a success that Universal will apparently continue this approach with the remake of The Wolfman. The film will apparently star Ryan Gosling in the title role and will be directed by Derek Cianfrance, who previously worked with the actor in The Place Beyond the Pines and Blue Valentine. Though the project was announced years ago now, Gosling did recently give an update that The Wolfman is still pushing through, though who knows when we'll see it. Number 7, Magic. Sam Raimi, of course, started off his career in horror movies with the Evil Dead trilogy, and would later on reach mainstream success for his work on Spider-Man and its sequels. After a lengthy break from filmmaking though, this year saw his glorious return with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and Raimi is set to hit the ground running with a remake of 1978's Magic, his first horror since 2008's Drag Me to Hell. The original was an adaptation of a William Goldman novel and told the story of a ventriloquist who becomes tormented by his own dummy. The movie was written by Richard Attenborough, starred Anthony Hopkins, and received a following among horror aficionados, with Raimi himself being a huge fan of the picture. Though it's way too early to tell how the film will turn out, having Raimi back in any capacity has to be a good thing. Number 6, The Lost Boys. The Lost Boys is a bona fide 80s classic, and honestly it's kinda surprising that there hasn't been a remake before now. There were 2 belated follow-ups in the late 2000s, but no true big screen adaptation. However, in 2021, Warner Bros. Pictures announced plans for a remake, with Jonathan Entwistle at the helm. The director is known for creating shows like The End of the World and I Am Not Okay With This, and also attached to the film are young actors Noah Jupe and Jaden Martell, with the former being known for A Quiet Place, while Martell is best remembered for his roles in It and Knives Out. There are no story details regarding the Lost Boys as of now, and no further developments, but we can probably take a guess at what it'll be about. Of course, with this being yet another Warner Brothers joint, who knows anything about its current status either. Even if they shot it, you couldn't be certain they wouldn't just trash it anyway. Of course, the big question remains, will the remake attempt to capture the spirit of the 1980s like the original movie, or will it try to modernize things by setting it in the present day? Let me know what you prefer in the comments below. Number 5, A Nightmare on Elm Street. Despite being one of the most recognizable faces in horror history, Freddy Krueger has not been seen in cinemas since the 2010 version of A Nightmare on Elm Street. For years, there were plans of doing a second remake, but producer Brad Fuller revealed that the film was stuck in development hell. And even though the project was still ongoing in a fashion, New Line Cinema diverted its efforts to The Conjuring and its spin-offs. But in 2019, the rights to A Nightmare on Elm Street were reverted to Wes Craven's estate, with the intent of releasing a new film in the series. Though no final word has come in yet, there have been multiple pitches thrown around by actors and filmmakers who all want a shot at bringing back Fred Krueger. The first is with Mike Flanagan, known for The Haunting of Hill House and Dr. Sleep, who offered his pitch to New Line Cinema. There's also Jason Blum, head of Blumhouse, who's apparently confident that he could ask Robert Englund to don the fedora one more time should there be a new movie. Finally, original star Heather Langenkamp expressed interest in fighting Freddy one more time, a la Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween. Number 4, Anaconda. The original Anaconda is peak cinema, a totally unhinged creature feature starring Jennifer Lopez, Ice Cube, Eric Stoltz, Owen Wilson, and of course, Jon Voight. Despite its goofy tone and poorly aged CGI, it is a cult classic amongst horror fans and was financially successful at the time, leading to a sequel titled Anacondas: The Hunt for the Blood Orchid, as well as a string of direct-to-DVD follow-ups as well. But the reptile is about to make a big comeback in cinemas as Columbia Pictures recently revealed plans for a remake. The film will be written by Evan Doherty, who wrote the recent Tomb Raider and the 2014 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film, which doesn't exactly fill me with confidence, but hey, I've been wrong before. It has also been confirmed that Sony and Columbia want the new film to be closer to the movie The Meg. And to those who forgot, that Jason Statham adventure pitted the actor against an oversized prehistoric shark, and if that's anything to note, then Anaconda will probably be more of a blockbuster event film rather than give the B-movie scares of the original, which honestly is probably for the best. There's no way that you can replicate the charm of the original. That thing is just pure so bad it's good. Number 3, Train to Busan / The Last Train to New York. South Korean flick Train to Busan was released in 2016 and was a huge hit all around the world, briefly reinvigorating the zombie genre and kickstarting production on a sequel that was ultimately a little bit of a disappointment. Naturally though, like all popular horror flicks that happen to have English subtitles, Hollywood has decided to capitalize on its success with the upcoming The Last Train to New York. The project will be produced by James Wan's production company, Atomic Monster, and will be directed by Timur Giganto, who is responsible for films like The Night Comes For Us and a standout short in VHS 94. Though slated for a 2023 release, The Last Train to New York slot was removed on no announcement on when a new one will come. While the quality of the movie is of course yet to be determined, it does continue the debate on whether or not Hollywood remakes are necessary at all. But hey, at least this time around the director on board has produced some solid work in the past, so let's hope he can bring something new to the table. Number 2, Nosferatu. When the remake of Nosferatu finally drops, you can bet your ass that it's going to become the only thing I talk about for like 5 months. After suffering through a spot of development hell, Robert Eggers' remake is back on and has its cast lined up. Though Anya Taylor-Joy and Harry Styles dropped out of the picture in 2022, Bill Skarsgård will now take on the title role with Lily Rose Depp co-starring alongside. And as far as replacements go, that's pretty damn good going. Had it been been anyone else at the helm though, the prospect of remaking the tale of Count Orlok might seem like an obvious dud. Thankfully, a revered director like Robert Eggers is doing this new version, which will surely please fans of the original while bringing in a whole new audience. Eggers, of course, is one of the most exciting filmmakers working today, and at the very least, you can guarantee that his Nosferatu will boast a striking visual design and attention to period detail. Number 1. Friday the 13th / Crystal Lake. The Friday the 13th series has been in limbo for years now due to the many legal issues surrounding the property. Despite plans of doing a sequel to the 2009 remake and even a found footage movie at one point, the franchise was ultimately put on hold and has not received a new entry since. Though there has been a drought of Friday the 13th movies, the iconic Jason Voorhees did bide his time through numerous appearances in video games. He was a guest fighter in Mortal Kombat X and even had his own multiplayer title, which was released in 2017, but ultimately didn't get much support because of the aforementioned legal issues. For movie fans, however, it does seem that the legal battle has been resolved finally, and series veteran Sean Cunningham teased that a new film will be coming in 2023. And since then, a new prequel show from Brian Fuller and A24 has been announced, entitled Crystal Lake. And as you might have guessed, it'll focus on, well, Camp Crystal Lake before it's terrorized by Pamela and Jason Voorhees. It's unclear whether this will be joined by a new feature-length movie, but it seems like after years of being caught up in red tape, Friday the 13th is back on the menu, boys. So, that's our list. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. How many of these remakes did you already know about, and which ones are you looking forward to, if any? Let me know in the comments, and while you're down there, if you could, please give us a like, share, subscribe, and head over to whatculture.com for more lists and news like this every single day. Even if you don't though, I've been Josh, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.